Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Let's Play Planar Conquest. Yes, we are in the middle of a forest because we're playing Grey Elves and chances are high with this race to start in a forest. Actually, this could be negative if you, for example, choose to take a hero right from the start because most heroes do not have the ability to walk through wood without hindrance. The Grey Elves, however, all have the Forester ability. Now, what do we see in general? We see our income, we see our food production. If that food production is negative, your troops will desert you. And your mana production. You see your hero yourself, or your leader, so to call. As you can see, I've dropped the hero special ability and therefore dropped the negative discipline of Prude, because you can only have 6 heroes, and we'll have these 6 heroes soon enough, so we do not spend 2 discipline points just to get a hero right from the start, because there are other ways to get heroes pretty fast. I thought I'd do that to show you the game a little bit more, but actually I think I can acquire this hero fast enough for you to show. We have the spell book. These are the spells we have. We can arrange them by their level, we can arrange them by their type of spell. We can look into our research, what is there for us to research. Windwalk, for example, targets gate wind, so the army can fly on a strategic map. That is impressive. But we really need, or what we really need to start with, is something that goes fast. Shocking weapon is indeed, but actually the fastest spell is Dispel Magic. And this might come in handy, so we're trying to research this first, just to get that out of the way. Just so that you know, you can store up to 8 spells if needed. First trick, you can only cast as many mana points as you have spellcraft. So for example, if you have spells that you want to have in your backhand that you can cast immediately, although they cost more than you have spellcraft, just cast them over 2 turns and then store them. So this is pretty useful for high mana cost spells that you use as an emergency button. We have our city. Now, about your starting city, always try to get a good start, because like all 4X games, the start is pretty much important. We see that this city has our summoning circle, so everything that is summoned will appear in this city. It is our capital, and that is our population growth. Now, you might wonder, why is the population growth so high? That is because we have 2 trees of life and healing herbs nearby, and that really boosts our population growth dramatically. We also have 3 times +2 food income from wild game, so we're producing a lot of food. You can look into that in detail, just hovering over it. Gold is always a problem. You ask gold, why gold? Because most units of the Grey Elves need food and no to little gold. The point is, well, the basic units therefore, the point is that we need gold to buy, for example, heroes or artifacts. So gold is not that unimportant, and you can rush production. You don't have to research that as you do in, for example, Fallen Enchantress, but it is costly still. Power is energy that you can convert into either mana production, research, or spellcraft. But there are buildings that give you mana points, that give you research points, and that can give you spellcraft points that you cannot distribute to your liking. Negative energy is only for the unhallowed, and research we have currently no bonuses to. We have 2 guarding militia, and we have 1 farmer, because we're producing so much food with the wild game that we do not need that many farmers. That leaves us with 5 workers. Of course, there are races that can produce more than 2 production per worker, but these are the dwarves and the insects. And we can put 2 people to research to get more research points. With that being said, we can also increase the tax, and you might wonder why the city unrest is not going up. That is because our troops are currently stationed in the city. As this will not be the case any longer, we don't put that too high, although we could really use the money. These are the units that we can train. The red ones are that currently not available to us because we're leaking the buildings. And it always shows you what the buildings are that you need. More into the stats and skills will go later. Construct buildings, of course, that are not red are the ones that you can build. Please keep in mind at all times that all building cost upkeep, and that you are running out of money pretty fast if you build too many buildings that you do not need. So don't buy everything just because it looks cool or you want to have your city completed. Think before you build. With that being said, we need more research. And although we have the special negative ability that we only get less power from buildings, we of course are getting full research from the buildings. So we could, for example, simply build a Sage Guild because it's built fast and we're still producing a lot or gaining a lot of population. Normally, what you would normally do is do housing to get a hell of a lot of population, and then, for example, after 3 turns, cast 2 times slave work and build, for example, a building that costs 200 production simply in 2 turns. Isn't that amazing? Minus 10% unrest and 2 power per turn. Well, by us it's just 1 power a turn, so it's not that important. But the minus 10 unrest is pretty cool because that means we can increase our tax rate. Very, very useful. But we're going for the Sages Guild because it does not have a lot of cost. It only costs 1 gold upkeep and it gives 3 research points, and we can build it in 4 turns. And we don't even have to cast slave works. Why is that with the slave works so important? Because we have 2 disciplines that give us additional power and money for each population, 1,000 points that we have. So we should not unnecessarily enslave them. If you've got playing a race like the insects and your guys are not producing power and your guys are not producing money at the same time, you can really do that slave work spell to your liking. You just can build housings all the time, and when you've got enough population and mana, you just do the slave work trick. And that will enable you to build cities up with special buildings unimaginably fast. You can even put out high-level units that way extremely fast because the units themselves are not that costly. You can build an high-level unit in just 2 turns if you've got the spell in storage, the slave work spell, and you've got 600 population on the side. You can just build a grey mage in 1 turn. Isn't that amazing? So keep that in mind. Trick number 1, build housings and then slave work your way up to the top. For those who don't know, how does slave work? Well, that is a spell. 20 mana, you cast it, 300 population are sacrificed, and you get a production of 100. And of course, production is what is shown here. 150, 150, so you can all build a sawmill in just with 1 spell. Normally it takes 6 turns, you cast it, it's done. Amazing. Now to our unit. You see our units with the upkeep. Our basic unit only eats food. Our second unit eats food and 1 gold. Our 1 higher tier unit 2 gold and 1 food, and 2 gold and 2 food. So the Grey Elves are pretty food reliant. You can see their hit points, you can see their experience. The more experience they get, of course, the more damage they can take and the more damage they will do. You see their movement in a single turn, their armor class, the higher the better, of course. This is a D20 system, which actually means to successfully attack an enemy, you roll a D20 and add your attack skill. Or points, for example, or so to say. And then it's determined when you get the number or higher, you hit it. If you don't hit the number or lower, or you're under that number, you don't hit. Number of units figures that are in a unit, your melee damage, your range damage, your fortitude save, reflex save, and will save. Here's the same. For example, we have a reflex save of 5, which actually means if we have to resist a spell that has, for example, a difficulty of 15, we roll a d20 and add our reflex save bonus, 5 in this case. So if we roll a 10 or higher, we're safe. That brings us to abilities. All these guys here have Forester, but for example, he's just a Forester, and he's a Forester and a Caster. And he's a forester and has reached weapons. So although he is not flying, he can reach flying, although with a hit penalty, which is again added to the enemy's armor class, so to say. These guys here can fly and can shoot arrows, as you see, but please keep in mind, you do not have unlimited ammunition in this game. Each unit that has a ranged attack has a limited amount of arrows with them. With the attacks, you can see if they're doing piercing damage or bashing damage. There are even some who do slicing damage, I think it's called. So that is also important because the right target is hit better with the right weapon. Here you can see the attack bonus that you get to your roll of d20 to beat the enemy's armor class, and you see your critical. Each time you roll, for example, when you roll a 19 or a 20, you do 2 times damage, and in melee it's only a 20 that does double damage. Items are not available for these units because they're not heroes. Only heroes can use items. That brings us to item creation, and here is another very important tip for you. You can get a shield for free, a small shield. You simply add a 0 armor class to it and craft it. It costs nothing, and the absolute amazing part, it gives +1 armor class. You say that is not a lot, actually it's for free, and it gives you an armor class bonus of +1. That is more than good. Same goes with armor. You can build a hide armor that gives you an armor class of 3 for free. Simply build it and you've got it. You do not have to add any of this fancy, very, very costly stuff. You can simply get that for free. As for the power distribution, the first thing we need, the most, you can say it's mana, but actually it's not. We don't need spellcraft. We need mana and we need power, we need research, because we want to get the right spell, and that is normally called hero. So we'll be leaving that 3 turns, and we've got Dispel Magic. That is good for me, because at the moment we have 30 mana, but we have nothing to cast. We're not doing any slave works in the near future, and I don't think that we need a lot of combat spells, because that is another very important part. If you have spellcasters in your army, like this druids, they have their own mana. They do not cast with your heroes or leaders' mana, they cast with their own mana. And it is refreshed after each battle, so knock yourself out. With that being said, we see our first target, and that is that little cave here. It tells you how dangerous that place is. It's called Threat High, and when you double click at it, you see that they've got Nagas, which are hard hitting, okay armored. They're venomous, that is dangerous. Acid immunity, poison immunity, toughness, and living. They're doing okay damage, but never forget they're doing extra poison damage. And we've got Phantom Warriors, who are actually ethereal, which means your armor class does not influence the chance to hit. Normally your armor class without armor is 10. Unless you're building on agility, but that is something different. We'll come to that later. So let's try to reach them. I think it takes 2 turns at least to reach them. But maybe, oh, there is an inn. Isn't that beautiful? But they only have mercenaries and items. They do not have heroes. That is a little bit sad. With that being said, let's look at the gold. We could increase our gold income by a little, but then you will see we get one of those rebel guys, and that is absolutely not what we want. So we will not be doing that. Actually, we could, but we're not. We're trying to get some food. You can only gather or store as much food as you have granaries, and you can only get 1 granary per city. So the more cities you have, the more granaries you get. Never forget, when you walk onto a special location, you will need 1 action point or 1 movement point to interact. And these are the possible rewards. That does not mean you get all that stuff. And these are the possible guardians. That means there can be more of one of the 2 or both. So you can see they have 4 Phantom Warriors and 1 Naga. But I'm still sure we can do this. Although we might need a little help here. So this is tactical combat. We have to place our units and we have to keep mobile. First thing we do is we move our druids back, and then we cast an acid arrow on the phantom warriors. They don't have a lot of hit points, so they normally react very, very bad on that. The enemy cannot fly. What does that mean? The enemy will move to reach us. And if an enemy moves out of your range of one tile, you get an attack of opportunity. Normally, when you fly and you attack someone in melee, they can attack back. But if someone is moving out of the 1 square range of you, you get a free attack no matter if they can hit you or not. So we're just going here. We should use some mana to make ours better hitting. And that will be this one here. Bless weapon. And then we shoot the Nagas, because the Nagas are actually the biggest threat to our army. You will see that the enemy will try to reach us as best as they can. And we will try to get out of their range as best as we can. That was miserable, even by my standards. And we'll do another acid arrow on those guys. Oh, they saved. That's bad. Okay, you will go here. Yeah, that will not really impress them. Now this Guardians, you will see we can backstab them. Oh boy, and we backstab them for good. Good work here. I don't think we can cast any more spells. No, we're out of mana. That is a shame. You will go over here, and they've got how many hit points? Well, we anyway go into their range and shoot these guys. They will be backstabbed. But they survived, but at least we missed them. They missed us, but we didn't miss them. And now we can simply nail those suckers. Oh, we missed. But we can do the same trick again. Just try to get out of the range. Okay. This is a bit risky now, because if we don't hit like that, we have to protect our ranged fighters, because that is where they want to go. They don't want to attack our clave guys. As you can see, we killed them all. We got mana, we got gold, we got fame, we got XP, and we got a weapon that we cannot use. We got the little blue thing here is the experience. And so you see, we beat them. No losses, not even damaged, used very little of our own mana, and perfect. See you all next time. Bye.